Hello, friends, and welcome to the I Do Wedding Marketing Podcast. This is episode 7. 7, there are so many famous sevens. We have Seventh Heaven, Seven Deadly Sins, Seven Dwarfs. So, man, I'm excited that we've made it to episode 7 here. My name is Nina Adio, and I'd like to thank you for allowing this podcast into your earbuds, your Bluetooth, your car radio, wherever you are listening from. On the ID Wedding Marketing Podcast, I discuss tips and tricks for wedding pros to DIY their social media or to gain the confidence to outsource it. Last week on the podcast, we talked about experience and how talking about your experience is a good thing to do. I also gave some suggestions on how those who are brand new to the business can find experience and get it if they don't already have it. So, what we went over was where and how to get experience if you don't have it, and why you should be talking about your experience and how you can do it in a really authentic and genuine way in your content strategy. So that's back in episode 6 if that's something you're interested in learning more about. All right, guys. So, what are we talking about this week? What are we talking about in episode 7? So, this week, I want to talk about the topic of leadership and how being an intelligent follower can make a successful leader. How does leadership impact you in the wedding industry? Whether you are in wedding sales or own your own wedding service business, leadership is going to be key. In selling, you want to be the leader of that interaction and lead that sale. In business, of course, being a good boss and a great leader is so key. So, here's how I learned to lead by following and what that means to me. But firstly, this concept came to me from Think and Grow Rich, the famous book by Napoleon Hill. The book is aptly titled, and many people who study metaphysical studies or the law of attraction will rave about this book. Also, I'm going to pause to say I'm using a new microphone today, and you might actually, through this microphone, be able to hear the noise on the road. I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but I'm just letting you know that it's a possibility. So, for a book club I'm in, I reread this book, Think and Grow Rich. And the quote that stuck out to me from it is, "It is no disgrace to be a follower. On the other hand, it is no credit to remain a follower. Most great leaders began in the capacity of followers. They became great leaders because they were intelligent followers." So I loved that way, that way of saying it, intelligent followers. So put it this way, if you've never experienced what makes a good leader, how are you going to know how to be one? So I want to talk about how being a follower helped me in establishing my own business. So I started out at venues. I was an administrative assistant and the marketing coordinator all in one. And the admin side meant I got to sit in the sales meetings to take the minutes for the meetings, which is the summary of what was discussed, and that goes out to all the participants. As an intelligent follower, I found this to be the most exciting learning experience ever. Okay, so for 6 years while I was there, I got to see monthly insights from a director of sales on how they book weddings, their hurdles, strategy, guidelines. I mean, you can't pay for that. Instead, I was getting paid for that. Whenever I'm posting content for a client now, I'm not just thinking about what colors work in an Instagram feed. As a matter of fact, I don't really focus on that at all. Instead, I'm focused on those sales meetings. What have I learned that couples asked? What do they respond well to? What are their hurdles? These are all things I followed along to learn and study. And now it allows me to lead in my content strategies for clients. I mean, there's so many little things that I just learned through working so closely with a sales team. There was this one beautiful photo from a wedding, but it had chargers that we no longer use. So chargers are, the fancy plate that goes beneath the real plate. And even though I loved this photo, the sales team hated it because then people would come in asking for those chargers and we don't have them anymore. And we didn't have a vendor who rented them. So that's just a little thing of learning. You don't want to exaggerate what people can do. You don't want to put out something that they don't offer. You don't want to mislead, etc. And that's just an example of some things that I really learned closely in those sales meetings. Being an intelligent follower to me also means knowing where are following leaders to get information. Getting lessons from other experts is not a bad thing. As a matter of fact, I find it necessary to my success. It allows me to constantly keep my pulse on the industry. I particularly prefer to follow leaders on social media marketing, business, and entrepreneurship on podcasts, YouTube, and in books. Taking in this information as a follower, I then choose what I want to take in to apply as a leader. Being an intelligent follower means this, okay? I'm not going to panic when three different industry leaders give me three different answers for how many hashtags I should use. Okay, that happens pretty much every day. Instead, I'm going to make note of what they say, see what works for me and my clients, and apply that. I'm also only going to be following people I trust. So when three people I trust give me three different responses, then what that means to me is not that two of them are wrong or anything like that. It just means it's not that black and white. It's subjective. So don't get into a frenzy if, let's say, one person tells you you should sell your invitations on Etsy, when another tells you you should only do it in person, and a third tells you to have your own website. Take in the information, take in who and where it's coming from, and then assess and apply what's best for you. Which now this leads me to the third way I've learned to lead by following, and that's from learning who to follow. Okay. I've learned that for my personal page and even for some of my clients, I cannot follow everybody. I have to follow accounts that spark joy and inspiration. Yes, Marie Kondo, who you follow, okay? Only ones who spark joy. After about a year into my business, I started to notice a wave in social media marketers, specifically for wedding professionals, emerge. So I was so excited. I was like, wow, there's other people like me. And I began to follow them all. And while some still I chat with and they give me joy, for others, a connection was never made. And then when I see them in my feed, I feel self doubt and I think, what am I doing wrong? Why don't they like me? Should I do something more like they're doing? And, I think for following other wedding professionals, it's a good thing if you have the right community. If it encourages you and inspires you, do it. But if you find yourself getting discouraged like I was, it's okay to put people on mute. I still follow them, but I just hide how often it comes in my feed if I'm following someone who no longer sparks that joy for me. Or, you don't have to follow them. You don't owe it to anyone, especially if it compromises how you are feeling. All right. So, lastly, I learned to be a leader by being a direct follower. What do I mean by a direct follower? So, that means I've invested in a leader's program or coaching. So, having a business coach, personal coach, any coach, I mean, I don't know if a football coach will help you here, but any coach will give you an individualized experience. Building your business and self with a leader in this direct way, it will build your confidence so you'll be a better salesperson, business owner, boss, anything. Most of my business coaches, I've had four in total in my career, I've met on Instagram or podcast. So two I met through Instagram and two I discovered through their podcast. So that's just something to keep in mind of how the platforms you're on can introduce you to other people. And each coach has really helped me in just a totally different way. So in some scenarios, I'll just, I kind of will do one a year. That's how I've been right now, but I'm really jiving with the one I have now. So now I don't personally offer coaching, but I do offer strategy calls. So you can reach out to me about that anytime if you want to try setting something like that up. I have the information on my website, idoweddingmarketing.com. So, if you enjoyed hearing this today, please leave an Apple Podcast review, as it means a lot to me and helps more professionals find this podcast. Just be gentle on the motorcycles outside. I'm figuring out this audio thing, but each week we're getting better and better. We're 7 weeks in. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it. New episodes of the I Do Wedding Marketing podcast drop every Wednesday. I'm also live on Instagram every Wednesday. It's for Wedding Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern at I Do Wedding Marketing. You can learn more about my services and inquire about working together for strategy calls or for your social media marketing at www.idoweddingmarketing.com. Thank you so much for being here, and until next week.